everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over severe weather for the next 2 days for the southeast. So today we are seeing much of our severe weather across parts of the Gulf Coast, also parts of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, parts of Tennessee, parts of South Carolina, and tomorrow it'll be moving over to other parts of the Carolinas, and I will show you in a minute. Especially North Carolina, you'll be in that severe risk, eastern North Carolina. But you can already see here in this yellow right here, we do have this slight risk. So here is where we do have our biggest chance for that severe weather. This is our second category of severe weather, and usually we don't see widespread storms here, but we do have a pretty likely chance for maybe, I would say probably, 3 to 6 storms happening here. We do actually have our biggest threat is damaging winds throughout this whole area. That is shaded in the marginal or slight risk. And then we have a tornado threat that is not too high, but we actually do still have a chance for it. So a few isolated tornadoes definitely possible. And then we do have hail, which we are not expecting. We aren't expecting any hail today or probably tomorrow. I'll have to check. But we aren't expecting much out of the hail. Wind is our biggest threat. And we do have a small chance for some isolated tornadoes. But in the slight risk is where we have our best chance for severe weather this evening into tonight. And that marginal risk you can see in the darker green, that's where storms are possible. And we could see maybe a couple severe storms. But here, I feel like we aren't seeing as much of that severe weather move in because we have a lot of that stable air. We've had some constant rain throughout the day in some of these regions, so I'm not expecting too much of severe weather. Even in the slight risk, some regions we have actually already had constant rain, so it has rain cooled and we don't have a very unstable environment in the atmosphere, so we haven't saw much. And we've just saw our biggest risk today has been flooding. But we do actually, we cannot rule out some severe weather to happen along the slight risk. And then the marginal, it's definitely possible, but we'll have to see. Both of these categories aren't huge. But remember, damaging winds, if you do get a severe storm in your area today, biggest threat will be damaging winds. Tornadoes are possible. Just be watching out for that. But if you're in that yellow region, that's where we have our most likely chance today of having severe weather. If we were to look at tomorrow, you can see tomorrow in this marginal risk, that actually extends all the way down to Florida, through parts of eastern Georgia, through parts of southeastern South Carolina, western South Carolina, into central North Carolina, also moving into southeastern Virginia. We do have that marginal risk, so this once again is where we could see some, a couple of severe storms here, so we're not expecting a widespread event at all, but here's where they're definitely possible. And then in that slight risk once again is where we will be seeing severe weather, but it won't be too widespread. We'll probably just be seeing a few, anywhere from 3 to 6 once again. We'll have to see. Now remember, damaging wind, on this it doesn't say it, but damaging winds is definitely our biggest threat tomorrow. Tornadoes will be on the lower end, but we'll still have a chance for it. And then we don't have a big, we don't really have a big chance of hail tomorrow. So damaging winds, once again, our biggest threat, especially in that slight risk area. And then tornadoes, lower, there's still a chance of it. And then hail, we're not expecting it at all, so don't worry about that. But there's tomorrow's. So if we were to go ahead and look at the NAM model, this is short range. This is very detailed with the weather, especially when it comes to the severe weather. You can see we actually do have a line that is going to be setting up if it's not already, and this could be bringing some severe weather as we do move into these regions throughout this evening into tonight. You'll see it get a little stronger. Up here in this marginal risk, we do have some chance, but you can see how the line isn't as intense, and we're a little bit rain cooled in some regions, especially up through Kentucky and parts of Tennessee where it was earlier, but Indiana and Kentucky. Earlier it did extend up there, but we are pretty rain cooled and the temperatures have stayed cooler, so it did go south. This slight risk has really stayed right along the Gulf states today. Earlier it wasn't, but they did have to move it down just for that reason. And you can see as we keep moving on this evening into tonight, you can see how this line keeps going through, and you can see how we could get some pretty intense storms across parts of Louisiana. But you can see down here, this is what I'm watching. So down here you can see in the Gulf, this will move up, and you'll see how it does actually spread some severe weather across parts of Louisiana, parts of Alabama, parts of Mississippi, parts of Florida. That'll be the panhandle, and you can see how it does come on. You can see we do have this big, this pretty bad line of severe weather. Damaging winds and tornadoes definitely possible along this line. You can see isolated tornadoes not out of the question there. You can see it over over Louisiana. You can see a few cells that are isolated because we're a little bit warmer. We have that daytime heating. We haven't saw rain all day, so we have a pretty unstable environment to create those storms. You can see we do have some scattered storms around us. Any of these could produce some severe weather. We do sometimes see our biggest severe weather in these isolated little cells. So there could be a few cells where it gets severe, and isolated tornadoes are definitely possible. Now, damaging winds are our biggest threat. And you can see this line keeps moving east throughout the night, and you can see how it does move into parts of central Alabama, also moving into the Florida Panhandle, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi. Now, reminders, sometimes this model can be behind, so the timing will be a little weird on this, but if you just know that it should be sometime tonight, and then I'll show you tomorrow in a minute. But just remember it's sometime between this evening into tonight, maybe even into tomorrow morning, but definitely this evening into tonight. Probably, west of this, and then this right here will be tomorrow's, which I'll show you in a minute. But you can see right here how this line does keep moving, and we see a lot of isolated storms definitely spreading across the Panhandle. I do think that'll be our biggest threat before, and then after we will have this other line come through that could bring some pretty strong storms right there along the Gulf Coast. And you can see how it does extend across parts of the Panhandle of Florida. We still do have those isolated storms that could definitely cause some severe weather. And then you have this little bit of a line that does set up, or this bundle of storms that could definitely be spreading some severe weather across some regions. And you can see up here we'll have to watch. Maybe it will be for flooding, but there definitely is a chance we could see maybe a severe storm or just a strong storm. Wouldn't call it severe maybe. But definitely do watch if you're anywhere along this cold front that we do have. If you're anywhere across here, watch out for it tonight. Just be aware, but definitely if you're down here, be watching out for severe weather as we go throughout the night, this evening into tonight. And you can see as we do move into, this will be later. This will be tomorrow morning, really early. You can see we do have some severe weather still across here. This could even be parts of tonight, so that is what we'll have to watch too. But you can see tomorrow, if we keep getting into tomorrow, you can see this little bit of a patch does weaken. You can kind of see it spreads off, but it does actually add some moisture to another part. But you can see how this cold front will be going along. It'll get over the North Carolina mountains, and then it'll kind of weaken, but then it'll re-strengthen as we do get over here. And also, you do have to remember, down here, these will stay the same. So if you're anywhere across here, this will stay the same throughout the day. We will see any severe weather across here. Same across here, but if you're anywhere across here, we're going to have to wait a little bit and see. But that's where our biggest threat is once again. But these will weaken once they hit these mountains right here, and then they'll re-strengthen once they get over here. Also, we'll have some of that moisture coming from the Atlantic Ocean adding to it, and of course we're warmer along the eastern North Carolina region where it's, where we're closer to the ocean, we're warmer. So we do also have that. We'll have more unstable atmosphere for that. So that is why we could definitely be seeing our biggest threat of severe weather there. And you can see as we move throughout tomorrow, this will be tomorrow morning, getting into your late morning. This will probably be around your 5 to 8 a.m. region. And you can see how we do get a pretty consistent rain across northern South Carolina into western North Carolina. Parts of West Virginia, we do actually have some in there too. And then across here we do have it. I do think we will see a couple of thunderstorms popping up, as you can see right here. A clap of thunder, not out of the question. Could even be strong to severe if maybe one or two. We'll have to see. Remember, this will be the morning hours, so not expecting any widespread severe weather. But maybe one or two severe storms, in the morning. But we'll have to see. Either way, you will see quite a bit of rain, maybe a quarter of an inch to maybe an inch in some regions. But you can see how this keeps moving east, and then the storms will get stronger throughout the day with that daytime heating. And once it gets towards eastern North Carolina, it will get the strongest. But you can see the rain still battering parts of western North Carolina. Finally moves out sometime around your noon to, probably somewhere around your noon to 2 p.m. hour. And then it starts moving east. And you can see how we do get more of the stable rain across parts of West Virginia, also into Maryland, southern Pennsylvania. You can see at the very tip top. But you can see right here we do have this line popping up, and we'll have to watch that. And if we were to look at earlier across the south, I did forget to cover it, but you can see how these cells actually will be causing some severe weather too, and we will see more move east after I show you this. Let's go ahead and take a look. And you can see how we do get this line to set up across parts of North Carolina. And it will keep moving east, and it'll be once again eastern North Carolina, where we do have that slight risk in place. We'll be bringing severe weather. This does look like a pretty strong line. So we do have a few of those, a few of those those isolated storms that could definitely bring some severe weather. But our biggest threat, you can see, is this line right here. This is where we'll see most of our severe weather in. Damaging winds, tornadoes in this line, possible hail we'll have to see, but damaging winds once again our biggest threat, and then we do have a chance for tornadoes. And you can see how it does keep moving east, and then it moves out tomorrow. Probably tomorrow night, and you can see, but tomorrow afternoon, also into tomorrow evening across eastern North Carolina, maybe even central North Carolina. You can see how that line does. It is across central North Carolina, and then it gets stronger as it keeps moving. So definitely do watch out for that as we do go across. Once again, that is our biggest threat and our slight risk. And if we were to go back to that marginal risk earlier, where you do remember parts of South Carolina, Georgia, Florida getting in that marginal risk, our biggest threat for that will be part of this. Also, we'll have some, we are expecting our biggest threat will definitely be just those isolated storms that will pop up with that daytime heating and that added moisture. So that's what we're looking at there. We probably won't see like a definite line from the cold front, but you definitely will there possibly could be a line that forms. Or our biggest possibility is just those isolated storms in that marginal risk, where they're a little isolated. That's why it's a marginal risk. It won't be as much of a we won't see as much of it. It'll be a little bit more isolated. So if you're anywhere across that marginal risk, it'll be very isolated. You'll probably have those, most likely it'll just be those isolated storms that do bring it. And once again, those can be some of your strongest storms. So don't think that, just because you don't have a line in place is not that, just don't think if you don't have a line in place, you won't get the worst. Definitely in those isolated storms, sometimes we can get our strongest storms. So if you're anywhere, once again, across this marginal region that we did have right here, in this green, this is where we'll see most of our isolated storms. And across here, it'll just be, we'll have a more stable environment across here. So we will have the cold front coming across. It'll just be in that blue, you can see. In that blue, we do actually have the cold front coming across, but it'll just be a little bit more, the rain will add a more stable environment, will be a little cooler, so severe weather isn't as likely. But if you do get across here, we will have that little bundle of storms that will be coming from the west. Also, we do actually have, you can see we do actually have some isolated storms that will be across that region. And once again, in the slight risk, that's going to be northeastern South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, and parts of very southeastern Virginia, around your Virginia Beach area. So yeah, guys, I hope y'all did enjoy today's video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.